Hello, Scorpio. I'm Jordan, the Green Moon Healing Spirit, and I'm going to be doing your tarot reading for the month of September. It's a very interesting time right now. There's so much happening in the sky, and signs have been getting some very interesting sort of energy, lots of news, some more difficult messages, some absolutely beautiful messages. Has to do with placements. There's lots of things happening. Of course, September, we do have eclipses. Um, Sort of complicated energies, different placements in the sky. There are some beneficial ones, there are some detrimental ones, just very interesting placements, but a lot of very fluctuating, recycling sort of energies. It's very fascinating. So I'm going to be pulling 10 of these Emerald Moon cards, and then I'll be clarifying with 3 cards from this Gilded Tarot for each one of those. I will pull you a fantasy oracle, and then I'll also pull you at the end. I'll pull a talisman. Just going to start by shuffling the cards. Things are so interesting right now. The sun is in Virgo, and we do have 2 eclipses, and we have another new moon in Virgo. So some interpret that as like a second chance or another try, something like that. It's just a lot. There's an eclipse in Pisces, I believe on the 7th, and that is there with Saturn and the North Node. So it's a little bit complex. It's almost like Saturn is sort of moderating the things that are allowed to come in through the North Node there. And the full moon is kind of speaking to endings, so maybe ending some of those things, but we'll talk more about that when we get into the reading. I do hope you're having a good month. Summer where I am, so it's beautiful. It's been a very nice summer. It's been hot, but it's nice out right now. September is a time for Virgo, so things to be refined, leading into Libra, so sort of settling down, getting ready to make ready, settle into our next new thing or what's going to maintain us. Scorpio, I do wonder what's in store for you. We do have a visitor coming to your house later in the month when the sun comes into Libra. We have Mars, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay, Spirit. What's going on in the month of September for Scorpio? Anything that they need to know? Any advice you can give them? Things they need to see? Okay. Just going to scooch this a little bit. All right, Spirit. For Scorpio for September. I'm unsure where some of you were last month. I have a little bit of an idea, but a couple cards coming up here. Okay, so first thing I saw was the 8 of Cups. My goodness, Scorpio. Okay, the 10 of Swords and the Death card. It's very transformative, I do have to say. For Scorpio. We have the 7 of Pentacles. Five of Swords. Ooh, very interesting energy, Scorpio. Very interesting. Sort of, there's a high transformation, I think, in the air for you. This may have to do with feelings. It may also have to do with thoughts, feelings, that sort of thing. I do know it seems here like this death card came up right in the center of everything. This is, of course, a major transformative major arcana, and it talks of a transformation and getting rid of old things, and I do see that happening right here. Um, I'm unsure of how difficult this will be. We do have Saturn, like I said, demanding sort of an accountable transformation, something that we're very closely monitoring. Scorpio is definitely assigned to closely monitor those things. And with the South Node in Virgo, it speaks to a sort of clarifying eye to making sure that it's right. So it's almost like double protection at that point to only let things into your world that will be really truly worth your while. And it does speak to eliminating things that no longer serve you. And I see that here. So first came up the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is all about abandoning the feelings that no longer serve you. This may have to do with the eclipse coming on the 7th, but it may not. I do see there's somewhat of an eclipse happening here. So there may be I guess I'll say a culmination of something and then it ends. You know, it's like something is at its fullest and then just goes away and no longer serves you, and so you need to leave. I do see that you're kind of going on to something real in the background now, whether or not these cups were something that you've already enjoyed or something that was never really meant to enjoy. Maybe they weren't ever full. That could possibly be. I feel like whatever cups you're leaving behind, though, this is not a time, Scorpio, to leave empty baggage all over the place. You know, it needs to be cleared. It can't stick around because it's not going to align with this transformation. If you're going to transformation it, I do see sort of a blank slate. There's a bit of complication at this point, but we'll talk about that when we get there. These cups that are here that are not fulfilling you anymore or weren't really real that you're walking away from, things that aren't serving you, they're not just being left there, they're going away forever. They're totally gone at this point. There is you're leaving them behind and you're eliminating them. It may be that just the very memory of them is painful for you. That could be. It may be a sense of pulling away from them because you don't want to be reminded of them at all. You know, sometimes when you have this transformative sort of energy, if you leave those things sticking around and to look at them, it's not good. Although this person is not looking at the cups, if the feelings are left there where you just kind of sit with them, even if there's new feelings that are better, things that will remind you of those things are going to result in the same feeling. It's going to bring you back to the same place. It's going to bring you back to the place where you remember that they didn't fulfill you, but you may be a little bit upset that they don't. So they need to go. It's a very plutonic sort of arrangement. You know, it needs, if something is going, it can't just be put in the closet. It needs to go away. You know, it needs to be gone forever. And I do see that's sort of where we're coming here. So whatever you're leaving behind is totally ending for you. I think I do see a total end. And we need this to end. It's important that it ends because something else is starting. And I do see that you sense an expansion coming. You do. Jupiter is also in Cancer right now. So that does speak to a sense of expanse. It has to do with, um, for you, I believe, ninth house energy. It's a bit complicated, really, but it also goes to say there are things coming in with the North Node in Pisces, sort of things from the dream, you know, this sort of goal-oriented ideology. And I do see that happening at this point. It's definitely talking about inviting the new things in. And it may be that you just sense that the things need to be eliminated to let these things in. That's very much, um, it's almost like the way I see this is you weeding the garden because of this card. If you were to leave those weeds in, and they're really not plants that you really like, if you don't just get rid of them, they will they will again overtake the garden. And I do see this moment where you've done the due diligence to rid yourself of the things that needed to go away, and not just forgotten about them. You have totally gotten rid of them. And it is possible that we have, after this transformation happens, since you did more of a due diligence and not just ignoring and walking away and total elimination, you now have more room for the things that you see as being fruitful for you, that you are able to put some time and patience into, that you're able to sort of develop from a seedling state with a nice fresh area, rather than something with this clinging extra baggage that might have been coming in from another situation from before. Um, you did want a 100% transformation. You didn't want to have like a 50% transformation. This does speak to sort of a total transformative moment. And it's a place where things are really allowed to take off because of that. It does speak to a sense of responsible riddance. I think that's a very good idea for you. Scorpio is a sign sort of about that. Things that you don't want around, they really can't be left there to just be. It's not going to result in a good thing for you. It's going to result in more of the same, because you know that they might grow back, that they might come back. And I do see here, this card speaks to like winners and losers. It also speaks to almost a bittersweet victory. I do see a sense, this transformation might be stirring up in you some sense of maybe a bittersweet feeling. There might be just something about it, and this might be why you feel this sense the need to totally eliminate it, so that you're not left with this resentment, and you're not left with this sort of um, pulled up energy that's sort of, it's not really stopping you, but it's certainly not leading you the honor that you wanted to have in doing it. I do sense that you're trying to do everything you can to totally rid yourself of a certain thing. It may be that some of it is just still lingering. That could very well be. I see that these might be past versions of yourself. It might be other people. But whatever it is, I do see you are kind of aggressively taking something for yourself, but it may be that you're taking something that you really believe that you need. There's a lot going on for you. Um, in so many important houses. I believe that right now the 11th house for you is where Virgo and the sun is. And later on, it will be coming into Libra, which is your 12th house. So it has to do with goals, and the things that bring you joy. This is a card that I think it brings you success, but it's not bringing you joy. So we'll see kind of how that plays out later. And we'll clarify all of these cards too. Pull a couple more cards, Spirit, for Scorpio. The last one, the devil. See, I think something is clinging, but we'll talk to that when we get to all of the cards. The last one. Ooh, Ten of Cups. It's been showing up a lot. I've had Ten of Cups show up quite a bit. Ooh, Empress. Beautiful. I see. Okay. Sun. Wow, beautiful. Okay. Mm. Nine of Swords. Fascinating. Okay, now I'm going to try and pull you a guiding card for the month. Any guiding card for Scorpio Spirit? Okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull the one that I saw here, which is the Eight of Pentacles. A couple came down, but that's the one that I see. Okay. Very fascinating, Scorpio. There's a complicated situation, I think, unfolding for you. So you are definitely ending something. I think you are. Something is ending, I should say, but I think that you are ending something, like I said, because you perceive this new dream, this new situation unfolding for yourself, where you want to be, where it's going toward the goal, which I think for you is kind of like a dream state. Um, and we'll talk about that when we get there, but what I'm seeing at this point is that you are ending something. I don't think that there's some external force here, I think, that is really not happy about what happened. I almost never get a message that direct, but I just see that as being, now I see this makes sense to me, that this Five of Swords seems to me to be someone else is rather upset with the way that you've handled some. This may be a situation with love. For you, there's a lot going on in the fifth house right now. It has a lot to do with relationships, what brings you joy, and family, relationships, that sort of thing. And also the 11th house, which is Virgo. So it's very complicated sort of energy. I do perceive that you, at this point, what's going on is you are trying to end things that do not bring you joy. And it may have to do with relationships. It may have to do with the people involved, the relationships that make you bring joy. Things also creativity. You may be sensing a blandness. And so there's no joy left in whatever was happening before this. And so you see it and end it and are trying to really transform so you can develop something totally new, so that you can lean into joy in the way that you know that you'll be fulfilled soon. You may be getting how that is feeling for you. But I do see here that there is some obstinate energy coming up under the things that are being left behind. And maybe this energy does not really want to be left behind. And I do see people here, as I see people here as well. So it seems that there may be some part of whatever is ending, a person I'm seeing, or people that aren't really too happy with what's going on. Maybe they weren't ready for an ending and you were. And the devil energy, I think, represents just exactly that, where devil energy talks about things that are obstacles keeping you stuck, sort of bad things that are keeping you in a bad place. For some of you, um, as crude as it might sound, this might be some kind of sexual partner um, that was bringing you joy and no longer is. It could be a long term relationship, could be a short term relationship, it could be a fling. Um, it could also be some other group. It doesn't have to be sexual, of course, but that is somewhat how this is reading because the Empress showed up. It has to do, I think, with love and fulfillment and that sort of thing, and procreation, I do see. So it may be that you don't sense a future with a certain person because there's no joy, or certain people, there's no joy anymore. And it's maybe not too good for you. It maybe has to do a little bit more with more carnal pleasure rather than something that is actually bringing you authentic joy. And it may not be so ready to let you go. And I think what's happening, you feel the need to end it because you may be wanting to give into it. It may satisfy you in certain ways, maybe not bring you joy, but it may bring you other things. What those are, only you know. But this devil does speak to, I think this is the energy which may be a little bit resentful or a little bit upset with you, even, that you've ended it the way that you did. And it may be perceiving you as a bit selfish. Maybe you left it outside and left it just to die, and it's not appreciative, I don't think. But the reason that I think that you did this, I see this coming in underneath the Ten of Swords. I do perceive that the reason that you did is because this may be somebody that you once thought of as being somebody you could celebrate your ever after with, but maybe it's something had happened where you're realizing that it's not. I think this speaks to that 11th house, things with aspirations. This is the aspiration for you, Scorpio. This is the point. This is that dream state where you're trying to get to. This is the goal, the end result you wanted. But I don't think you see yourself as it being possible with this energy, with this devil energy. Um, and maybe that's why. I mean, I do see that they may be a little bit not good for you. Maybe they do build resent quickly. Maybe they do sort of present in a bad way to you. Maybe they're quick to be that way. It's definitely true. But the thing about Scorpio is it's pretty much quicker than any sign to end things if it has to. I think it knows this more than almost any other sign. So this Ten of Cups, I think, is the goal in mind, and it's why you needed to end it because you did not perceive it as aligning with this goal. And the Empress energy, I think the goal is related to what you feel like will allow you to manifest your bounty, maybe procreating in the family, things in that way. The fifth house does speak a little bit to children. So the way that this is coming up, of course, now at this point, though, the sun is in Libra. So things are a little bit different for you in that way. This has more to do with the sun coming into your 12th house, which that is a place where you're connecting with the divine, which I do perceive the Empress as being connected to the divine. There's this Venus symbol here, and there is a wand that she points up almost like the magician with a crown. She is connected to a lot of things. I think that the divine is one of them. She's able to bring things through from the unseen world. It's a card of manifestation. A lot of people perceive her as being pregnant with child, and that does speak to bringing a soul from the outside world or the underneath world into up above where we are. So I do see maybe that the death card on top, there's a lot of actually serious major arcana now that I look at this, but the death card coming up on top of the Empress, I believe, is you really trying to embody this Empress. I think this is connected to the goal. It's connected to the dream, something that you perceive as an aspiration of yours. Maybe you want to have children. Maybe you're trying to expand the family and be falling in true love, and you knew that that wasn't happening here. I am sort of getting that. Maybe you are inviting that in. Um, it does seem to be an invitation, something that you're trying to achieve. And I don't think that you perceived it being possible with this devil energy, with this person here who seems to be holding a bit of a grudge. Typically, Scorpio is one to hold a grudge, though, but I do see that maybe you are not the one holding a grudge this time. You, for once, are not the guilty party in that way, Scorpio, but it may be that you are. When we clarify, we will see. But I do believe that this Empress is connected to the dream. You're trying, your eyes are on your future and what will bring you joy. Maybe you perceive that expansion of the family and children. You know, the child relationship has a lot to do with the fifth house, and the 11th house, for sure. I mean, a lot of people aspire to that. But this could just be a manifestation of bounty, and what you perceive will bring you love and happiness and beauty and joy. You know, that I think that could read too. Not all of you want children, and I can't possibly resonate with all of you either. But if it doesn't fit, don't force it. But I do see that this is connected to the dream. You know, this is what you're trying to transform into. And I do think that it's right for you. Um, you know, it may be bringing you stress, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But the sun, whenever it's connected to something like the Empress and this sort of honest, patient moment after some harder work and sowing the right seeds, the sun coming up in that way cannot be wrong. It speaks to a sense of beauty and rightness, and how right I do think that you were to do this. I see, of course, like I said, the sun at this point is in Libra. So it's going to start bringing you balance and harmony like the Empress. It's going to start bringing you that sort of energy. Um, the whole point of Libra, which Libra is a difficult archetype, as is Virgo, it does speak to a sense of refinement. It speaks to a sense of purifying, of recycling, of taking things out that shouldn't be there and adding things that should. Especially with the North Node and the South Node and the positions that they're in with Pisces and Virgo. It speaks to a sense of allowing things in to expand your life. With Saturn retrograding there, nothing is going to come in that should not be coming. There's a sense of an accountability. And Virgo is also not going to let things go that shouldn't go. So I think it seems to me you've made the right decision here, Scorpio. That does seem to be what I'm getting. And I think that the sun showing up in this way, with the sun now coming into Libra, which is your 12th house, certainly has to do with bringing things from the spiritual, unseen world, that sort of thing. I do see a sense of rightness to all of this. It doesn't mean that it doesn't stress you out, however. This Nine of Swords, of course, is disrupted dream states, a little bit of anxiousness. And any situation like this, if it is a breakup, Scorpio, anybody who's not stressed is not human. There's always an element of stress that goes on. I feel like this does sort of speak to a breakup. It could be also leaving work or quitting a job, maybe leaving an apartment that didn't serve you. I don't know why that's coming, but it is. Um, Maybe the landlord needed the money. You know, it could be anything. But I do see this more of sort of a love thing. The lovers didn't show up, but we'll clarify. But this, I see that the Five of Swords coming up on top of the Nine of Swords, which I do like to read that way sometimes, as they are connected. There is a bit of stress, anxiety. I think that you perceive this person. I don't know that this person is dangerous, but I do know Scorpio knows how to cope with that by being more dangerous. So I do hope that that's not the case. I'm not saying that that is, but I think anytime you have this sort of resentment that's going on, maybe in the background. It's kind of like you dump somebody who's just bad news. It might have been quickly satisfying, or you thought it was going to work and you know that it couldn't. Whatever happened, Scorpio, something like that happens, and this person continues to cling, in a very just stagnant way that's kind of lingering around. That wasn't part of the goal. You wanted it to be done, and I think you hoped that they would understand, but I don't think that they did. And I think it's just bringing you just a little bit of stress. This card, although looks bad, is by no means the worst that things get for you. Scorpio is more of a feeling sign. It's a water energy. It's sort of fixed water. So I think it has its heart set on what it wants, and it's more from a position of feeling. So it knows how to cope with a little bit of stress, and it's not as intense as some of the more water energy for Scorpio. Of course, Scorpio can get a little clingy too, so this could go either way. We'll see when we clarify. But for your guiding card, came up the Eight of Pentacles, which does speak to doing hard work to get what you want. I see this is a good energy right now. I think you are working hard at improving your position, whether that be in your love life. Like I said, we do have that fifth, 11th house axis kind of happening. And whenever we have that happening, it's all about manifesting what will bring you joy and revising the aspirations and that sort of thing. There's a lot of interplay between causing things to come from a place where you see will work for you into how they're going to satisfy you. It's a very sort of natural house access that I see. And you are making honest work to do that. I think that it is a little bit hard. I do see a sense of difficulty and skillmanship in this card when I see this person making the pentacles. It's, of course, not very easy to do this, but they do seem to be accumulating quite a bit of them, and they're sort of being built up the tree. So you're starting to accumulate quite a bit of these. This also some people interpret the fifth house as being a house of creativity. This could be speaking to that as well. So that's interesting that this card came up. Creativity is you making things, of course, that will bring you joy. It will bring you joy to make things, and you may be completing some creative thing. But it does speak a little bit more to some people, but let's clarify. First, I'm going to pull an oracle card. All right, Spirit, any oracle messages for Scorpio? Okay. The Orator, communication and confidence. I do see sword energy speaks to communication. I do see that you may be confidently trying to end something here. Of course, it may have to do with communication. It takes communication to effectively convey that message. Um, it may be that you are the communicator and you're the one coming from a position of confidence, kind of like here. I do see that for you. And confidence, of course, the death card is onward motion, has to do with moving forward. And I do believe that is a very confident thing to do because you desire to transform. You sense the need. Very interesting. So now I'm going to use this Gilded Tarot deck and we will clarify the cards. Okay, Spirit, let me clarify this Eight of Cups. Anything about the Eight of Cups? The Hanged Man and the Two of Swords. The Moon. Okay. And now let's clarify the Ten of Swords. Eight of Swords. I'm sorry, the Six of Swords. The World. And the Nine of Pentacles. Okay. Now I'll clarify the Death card. And clarify the Death card, Spirit. Strength. A couple cards. Of course, if they come back up, I'll pull those. I don't like to pull big chunks like that. And they didn't flip right up. There we go. That's what we wanted. Seven of Wands. Couple. Let's do Six of Wands on this. And then now on the Seven of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, and the Hierophant. Knight of Swords. Now the Five of Swords. Spirit, can you tell me about that? There's the Devil. I knew we'd find him there. Anything else, Spirit? Anything else on the Five of Swords, Spirit? Ten of Wands. Wheel of Fortune. And now, how about this Devil card, Spirit? What can you tell me about that? Queen of Wands. That one went right back into the deck. I'm not going to pick it up. It's a thing for me. I don't like to do it when they do that. There we go. Oh yeah, 5 of Wands. Here we go. Scorpio, you knew you couldn't escape the month without this. 4 of Cups. And now the 10 of Cups. Judgment, beautiful. 2 of Pentacles. Anything else, Spirit? This card. The last one, King of Pentacles. And now the Empress. King of Cups. Yes, beautiful. What else on this Empress card, Spirit? This one, Ace of Swords, beautiful. And we have 7 of Cups. And now the Sun, Spirit. What do we have about the Sun? Have 9 of Wands. Page of Pentacles. Oof, 5 of Pentacles as well. Okay. And now the 9 of Swords. Couple cards came out. I have the Queen of Swords. And I have, again, the 7 of Pentacles. have the Eight of Swords. Okay, and now let's clarify this Eight of Pentacles guiding card. I'll take one or three. What do we have, Spirit, to clarify the guiding card for Scorpio? Three of Cups. I'll take one more pass. Spirit, any final messages on the guiding card for Scorpio? No. Okay. Very fascinating, Scorpio. Aren't they all months like this for you, Scorpio? I am not a Scorpio, so I'm unsure what it feels like to be a Scorpio, although I do connect with Scorpio energy very deeply in my own chart. But I'm going to leave it here. If you'd like to join me in the comprehensive, I would really love to see you there. There's some very, really interesting energy happening right now. If you follow the link in the description, it will be taking you to the comprehensive reading. I'd love to see you there. And if this doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. I don't take offense to that. I can't possibly resonate with all of you. That would be impossible. Like and subscribe if you like the content, and feel free to leave me a comment. I always like the feedback. And I'll pause here.